Before we dive into today's intense story, a quick reminder. Over 90% of our viewers watch our videos but aren't subscribed. If you enjoy content like this, take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And if you find this story gripping, don't forget to like the video. It really helps us out.
I don't know how to begin a story that shattered my world, but maybe the best way is to start with the ordinary, because that's exactly what life was before it exploded into betrayal and chaos. Ordinary, familiar, comfortable. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the life I built and the woman I trusted with every corner of it. I met Anaya at a friend's wedding. She wasn't loud or flashy. She had this quiet warmth that drew you in. She wasn't the kind to chase attention, but attention always found her. I remember the way she looked at the bride that night, like she dreamed of that moment for herself. That was the beginning. I fell harder and faster than I ever expected. And when we got married a year later, I thought I had everything I'd ever want. We weren't perfect, but we were a team. Or at least that's what I believed. In the early years, we were like any other couple. We both worked hard. She as a teacher, I as a project manager at a local construction firm. We cooked together, planned weekend road trips, and saved every extra rupee to one day buy a small plot of land and build our dream house. That was our shared vision, or so I thought. Things began to shift slowly, so gradually that I didn't recognize it at first. She started staying up later at night, always busy on her phone, always laughing at messages she wouldn't share. I noticed it, sure, but I didn't question her. That was my first mistake, trusting her more than I trusted my own gut. She said she was just chatting with colleagues, that they had a group where they discussed lesson plans and school events. I wanted to believe her. I truly did. But there were moments, tiny ones, that began to pile up. A sudden smile that faded when I walked into the room, calls that ended too quickly when I entered, a change in her perfume, the way she suddenly cared so much about her appearance, even when she was just running errands. Still, I silenced every doubt. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure, possessive. But then came the evening that changed everything. I was working late on a Thursday. My team had a deadline, and I told Anaya I'd be home by 10. But we finished early, so I decided to surprise her. I picked up her favorite chai and some sweets from the market near our place. I didn't text her. I wanted to see her smile when she saw me at the door, but when I walked in, I didn't see her smile. I saw her sitting on the couch, legs curled up, whispering into the phone like she was afraid the walls would hear. I stood there for a full minute watching her. Watching how soft her voice became, how her lips curled at the corners, how she giggled in a way I hadn't heard in months. And then she said it, softly but clearly. "I miss you already. I can't wait until tomorrow." I didn't drop the bag. I didn't shout or storm in. I backed out of the house like a stranger, like some thief trying not to make a sound. I sat in my car for hours, letting everything settle into a numbness I didn't know existed. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering when the woman I loved became someone else. The next day, I didn't confront her. I watched. I observed. I began noticing every pattern. The morning texts she tried to hide, the sudden work meetings on weekends, the new clothes she claimed were on sale. I started following her without her knowing, and that's how I found him. He was younger. A gym trainer at some fancy fitness studio she joined a few months ago. His name? I didn't care. All I knew was that he was the one receiving the laughter that used to be mine. He was the one stealing the hours of my marriage. The first time I saw them together was in a cafe near the school where she taught. She looked so at ease with him, like she could breathe in his presence. I remember watching her brush her hair behind her ear and smile in that way. Playful, flirtatious, like she was 20 again. I wasn't angry. I was empty. I could have confronted her right then, but I didn't, because I realized something in that moment. She had already left me. Her body was in our home, but her heart was elsewhere, and confronting her wouldn't bring her back. So instead of shouting or begging or falling apart, I began to plan. Revenge for me wasn't about destroying her. It was about reclaiming myself. I wouldn't burn our house down or drag her name through the mud. Number I would let her dig her own grave. But I would control how deep it went. I started with silence. I stopped asking where she was going. I stopped caring when she stayed out late. I smiled when she smiled and pretended like nothing had changed. That made her bolder. She stopped hiding it. She became careless, and that carelessness was exactly what I needed. I began documenting everything, every late-night message she sent while pretending to sleep beside me, every photo, every place she visited when she said she was with her colleagues. I tracked her phone, synced her messages, and built a folder of evidence so detailed that no lie could survive it. She had no idea. She thought I was the same trusting fool, and that's what made it so easy. I started moving my own money quietly. I changed passwords, updated legal documents, and prepared the house for a future where she wouldn't be part of it. And then, one evening, I made dinner, her favorite, chicken curry with rice and salad just like she liked it. I lit candles, played her favorite old Hindi songs. She walked in surprised, smiling, maybe even a little guilty. "What's the occasion?" she asked. I smiled and said, "Just wanted to spend time with my wife." She blushed, kissed my cheek, and sat down. We talked like old times. She laughed. I laughed. But deep down, I wasn't listening. I was studying her, memorizing the way she lied without blinking, the way she pretended we were still something real. And then, just before dessert, I handed her a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Inside were photos, dozens of them. Her and the trainer, her at his apartment, her at the cafe, her smiling at someone who wasn't me. Her face changed. It drained of all color. She looked at me, mouth half open, trying to find the right lie. I didn't let her speak. I stood up, looked her in the eyes, and said, "You're free to be with him. But you're not going to take my dignity or my home. Tomorrow you'll find the divorce papers on your desk. I won't fight or scream, but don't expect sympathy." And then I walked out. Not from the house, from the marriage. But my revenge wasn't complete yet. That was only the beginning. I had one final plan, something that would leave a permanent mark, not on her body, not on her mind, but on her entire future. And when I'm done, she'll understand exactly what it means to betray someone who gave them everything. She didn't leave the next day. That surprised me. I expected her to storm out, to deny everything, to pack her bags and run to him. But she didn't. Instead, she cried. Not loudly, not in desperation, just quiet tears that made me wonder if they were for what she lost or for getting caught. I didn't speak to her for days. I moved into the guest room. We live like strangers, trapped in a house full of ghosts. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I needed to make sure that when she left, she didn't leave with the upper hand. You see, I had spent years building a reputation in my company. I was trusted, respected, and I knew her world was a small one. School staff, parents, colleagues, all people who knew me as her devoted husband, people who believed in the picture we painted. I didn't want to ruin her name, but I also wasn't going to protect her from the consequences. So I kept playing the part of the calm, hurt husband in public. I showed up at events, attended family dinners, smiled in photos. Meanwhile, she stayed silent, distant, almost afraid, and people noticed. Questions started to circle. I didn't answer them. I let the silence grow heavy. That was my second weapon, silence. Because silence makes people curious, and curiosity is a fire. Eventually, she confessed to her sister. I found out because her sister called me. She was in tears, apologizing, trying to understand how her perfect sister could betray the man who gave her everything. I said nothing bad about Anaya. Not a word. That was the trick. I didn't have to. She was already destroying herself. I knew from that call that Anaya had broken things off with the trainer. Apparently, he wasn't as interested in building a life as he was in stealing a few passionate nights. Once she began to unravel emotionally, he distanced himself. She called him too often, asked too many questions, maybe even demanded a future. He ghosted her. Just like that. And now, she was stuck in limbo. No husband, no lover, no safety net. That's when she tried to win me back. She cooked again the way she used to. She cleaned the house, arranged my laundry. She left small notes. "Hope you have a good day. Dinner's your favorite." But it all felt staged, mechanical. There was no warmth in it. One night she stood in the hallway, tears on her cheeks, and whispered, "I made a mistake. I got lost. I miss who we were." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "We don't exist anymore." And I walked past her. That moment I knew hurt more than any slap. But I wasn't done. There was one more layer to this. You see, we had been saving for a house for years. That money, every penny of it, was in a joint account. And while she was busy spending time with someone else, I had been protecting our finances. 2 weeks before I confronted her, I moved the majority of the savings into an account solely in my name. I also froze our joint credit cards. I didn't want revenge through violence or cruelty. I wanted to hit where it mattered: stability. She had grown used to comfort. She had no idea how to manage bills or mortgage applications or legal documents. I had always handled that. And now, she was adrift. I finally served her the divorce papers. No drama, no screaming. I placed them on the table one morning next to her cup of tea. She came downstairs, saw them, and froze. "Is this what you really want?" she asked. "No," I said quietly, "but it's what you earned." She didn't argue. She signed. But I had one more move to make. She didn't know it yet, but I had already spoken to her school principal, not to shame her, not to humiliate her, but to request a transfer. I told him the situation had become emotionally toxic and I didn't want to be in the same city once we were officially divorced. He understood. I asked for a transfer to a different branch in a new city, and it was granted. I packed my things a week before the final hearing. When I told her, she tried one last time. "Please, don't leave like this. At least let's talk." I looked around the house one last time, the memories, the photos, the furniture we picked together. And I said, "This isn't goodbye. You said goodbye the day you chose someone else." And then I left, but I didn't disappear. No, I wanted her to see the life I was building without her. I updated my social media for the first time in years. I shared glimpses of my new apartment, of the gym I joined, of the friends I reconnected with. Nothing flashy, nothing bitter, just enough to let her know that I was doing just fine. And she noticed. She started liking my posts, watching my stories, sending me small messages. "Hope you're well. I saw your photo, you look healthy. That view is beautiful." I never replied. Revenge doesn't always come in flames. Sometimes it comes in silence, in growth, in the strength to rebuild. I even saw her once, months later. I was at a grocery store in my new city. She was there for a workshop, probably something related to school. Our eyes met briefly. She smiled, faint, unsure. I nodded politely and walked past her like a stranger. That's when I realized the best revenge wasn't proving her wrong. It was proving to myself that I didn't need her to begin with. She thought she was the sun, and I would crumble in her absence. But I wasn't the flower. I was the storm, and I had only just begun to rebuild what she tried to destroy. It's strange how life slowly rewrites your pain into wisdom. After the divorce was finalized, there wasn't some dramatic moment of freedom or victory. No fireworks, no loud celebrations, just silence. An eerie kind of stillness, like the silence after a storm, when everything looks the same but nothing feels familiar anymore. I moved into my new place a week later. It was small, modest, barely furnished, but it was mine. No ghosts, no pretending, no second-guessing everything I said or did. For the first time in years, I breathed without a knot in my chest. I didn't jump into dating or try to distract myself with temporary happiness. That's what she did, and look where it led her. I didn't want to be a version of that. I wanted healing, not escape. So I started from the ground up, not just with my home, but with myself. I focused on routine. I started waking up early again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I began journaling, reading books I had once ignored. I enrolled in an online photography course, took long walks after dinner, met old college friends who reminded me of the man I used to be before I gave up pieces of myself for someone who didn't deserve them. And as the days passed, I felt something unexpected. I felt peace. The anger I once held like a sword began to rust. The pain that had been a shadow started to fade. And slowly, the woman who had once dominated every corner of my mind began to disappear from it. I didn't hear from Anaya for almost 5 months. Then, one morning, I received a message, a simple text on WhatsApp, just 4 words. "Can we please talk?" I stared at it for a full minute. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't tremble. I didn't feel hate. I didn't feel love. I just felt detached, like someone had called from a number I used to know but no longer saved. I didn't reply. 3 days later, she sent another message, this time longer. "I know I have no right to reach out, but I'm not doing well. I don't want sympathy. I just needed to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did. I didn't even understand how much you meant to me until I lost you." I read it once and closed it. I didn't block her. But I didn't respond either. You see, when someone breaks you, they don't get to choose how you heal. They don't get to interrupt your peace just because they finally feel the weight of their decisions. That's not redemption. That's guilt. And I wasn't going to carry hers along with my own wounds. Still, her message stirred something in me, not for her, but for myself. I began to reflect more deeply, not on her betrayal, but on how I had let myself go blind in the name of love. I had ignored red flags. I had dismissed gut feelings. I had chosen her again and again, even when she had stopped choosing me. That realization was hard, because as much as she broke my heart, I had betrayed myself first by pretending I was happy when I wasn't. That was the final layer of healing, owning my part in staying silent too long. Eventually, word got around. Mutual friends mentioned she had left the trainer months ago. Apparently, he ghosted her shortly after I left. Her colleagues noticed she was withdrawn, distracted. She started taking sick leaves frequently. There were rumors she was being relocated to a smaller school due to performance issues. I never confirmed any of it. I didn't need to. But a part of me, maybe the part that still remembered the old her, hoped she would find her way, even if it wasn't with me. And then came the final message, an email, written like a letter. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need to say what I never had the courage to say when it mattered. I was selfish. I got lost in attention, in fantasy, in a version of myself I thought I wanted. But the truth is, I destroyed the only person who ever truly loved me. You didn't shout. You didn't hit back. You just walked away. And that silence, it haunts me. Every day. I hope you're happy now. I hope someone sees you the way I never did." I sat there for a long time after reading it. Then I quietly archived the message. Because closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes when you no longer need their apology to move on. I hadn't just survived her betrayal. I had outgrown it. I had started working on a personal project with my photography. I published a small photo series about healing titled After the Fire. It wasn't about her. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming the spaces inside myself that had been burnt and left abandoned. The series received more attention than I expected. People resonated with it. Some messaged me privately, saying it helped them through their own breakups and heartbreaks. That's when I realized my pain wasn't a curse. It was a mirror, a way for others to see that they too could heal. I even gave a talk at a local art event. I spoke about betrayal without bitterness, about rebuilding without revenge, about how real strength is when you stop seeking destruction and start choosing creation instead. And that's when I met someone. No, not a love story. Not yet. But someone who didn't know my past, who didn't see me as the man whose wife cheated, but as a man who saw beauty in ordinary things. We talked about books, about travel, about art and loss and memories. She asked questions not out of pity, but curiosity. And for the first time in years, I felt something stir in me. Not attachment, but hope. I don't know where it will go. Maybe nowhere. Maybe everywhere. But I'm no longer in a rush to find the next chapter. I'm still enjoying the process of rewriting myself. As for Anaya, I hear she moved back to her parents' house. I don't know if she's working now. I don't know if she's happy. And the truth is, I don't need to know. Because the real revenge wasn't in watching her fall. It was in standing tall long after she expected me to crumble. She left thinking I would break, but I didn't break. I built. I rose from what she tried to bury. And now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the man who lost his marriage. I see the man who found himself,